This is what evil looks like. This is what non-parenting looks like. This is what false narratives of the fake news media and stirring of emotions constantly looks like. This is the result. This is what happens.
You are the conduit between the spiritual realms and the physical realms. You are the convergence of science and spirituality. The choice is up to each of us, but the answer is yours and yours alone. Will you choose fear, or will you choose love? That is the only question.
Mr. Stedler, welcome to Spiritual Chaos.
Thank you, Mr. Ewing.
I don't remember exactly how we started off before, but I'm going to just start off again and let me know if it glitches. You've sent me down a rabbit hole. In the last couple of weeks, we talked 2 weeks ago, and it was a fascinating conversation. But since we talked on Monday of this week, so 5 days ago, the IG report came out, and I've struggled to understand the depth of that. And we've, in the past, talked about the connection between the spiritual side of the war that I think is going on, and you do too, I think, and the connection between the divisiveness that's happening in our country. And could you just take us through real quick what your views are on this war, this sort of conflict between two sides? And we see it as Democrat versus Republican, but in the last conversation we had, you extrapolated a little bit beyond that. Mm-hmm. Can you just take us into that, and then I'll give some framework behind it.
Sure, for sure. Like we discussed last time, I believe everything that's being played out right now, not only on the American stage, but on the world stage, is the result of a spiritual war that's going on in the background. Really, it's in the foreground. Most of us just don't see it. We see the outward 3D representation of, the impeachment hearings, the IG report release, and all the other stuff that's going on, the chaotic stuff that's going on. This is all by design. And I don't mean human design. So last time we talked very heavily about the spiritual war between good and evil, and ultimately the end result of that war. And the end result of that war is really boils down to, and it's played out time and time again in movies and spiritual references. It's really the battle for mankind, the battle for human souls between good and evil. This war has been going on forever. Now, when I say it's divinely inspired and divinely orchestrated, if this war is going on forever, and like we talked about last time, the evil only exists in so long as God permits it to exist. God permits it to exist on this particular plane for a reason, for our evolutionary growth. We covered a lot of this last time, so I'm not going to rehash it again. But if you extrapolate that out, and let's use some logic here, all wars eventually come to an end. Eventually, the promises of the spiritual paths, Christianity talks about the harvest. We talk about the ascension process, and it's all throughout spiritual religions worldwide, that there is a point in time, the end times, and during those end times, basically, the good is separated from the bad. The wheat is separated from the chaff, and who is ready ascend, and who is not ready, they don't go to hell for the rest of eternity. They simply either live out the rest of their life on this planet and then reincarnate on another similar planet to continue their reincarnation cycle and process of learning. Sorry, I was getting on a topic that I was going down a topic that I didn't really want to extrapolate too much on, because we talked about that a lot last time, but I can't help it.
That's okay. There's nothing about this that is average narrative, so it's okay. There's nothing off limits. I do want to take our listeners.
I didn't want to interrupt, but I was getting off topic. Now I'm coming back on topic to finish my point. So if every spiritual religion, practice, whatever, promises the end times and promises the result of those end times, logically thinking, okay, down here on the surface of this planet, it has to play out somehow. It's not just a snap of the fingers and all of a sudden, boom, all this happens and it's done. There's a play out process. There is an exposure of corruption. There is an exposure of the evil. It's a light shining on the darkness to expose everything that's been hidden for so long, that has kept us trapped and in slavery for so long. So I believe what we're seeing now on the world stage is that manifestation, is the how to how all of this spiritual end times is going to play out here on the surface of the planet. So that's the closing point I wanted to make on that and kind of close that loop.
That's a hell of an introduction. All right. Well, first off, thank you so much for your time, and thank you for joining me, and thank you for educating us on what you've obviously spent a shit ton of time studying. So let me start with a framework that I'm new to, and that is the introduction of three major things. The first one is the idea that the mainstream media is not necessarily a trusted journalistic source, or cannot be a trusted journalistic source. I'm going to start with that. And I'm going to tell all of our listeners that this is just, in my mind, a foregone conclusion. I don't trust the mainstream media anymore. And this has been within the last 3 years. I mean, it's pretty new to me. For you, it's not new. We talked about that last time. Second thing, that within our three branches of government, we've got this IG report that came out, and basically the legislative branch of government has this inspector general, the office of the inspector general. So the OIG is the entity in our government that oversees the rest of the government's procedures to make sure that they're following constitutional law. Correct me if I'm wrong in any of this, by the way. I'm just going to...
A judicial branch. I don't believe it's the legislative branch. Judicial.
Sorry. And so inside the judicial branch, we have the OIG, which researches operations that have occurred inside of our government to figure out if proper protocols were formed or followed. And it is intentionally nonpartisan, from what I understand. So it is supposed to be.
Supposed to be, yes.
Nonpartisan. Okay. So the IG report comes out on Monday. And this is when you and I got talking again. We first were just talking about spirituality, right? Now we got talking about politics, because this IG report comes out and basically says that the FBI fabricated records to get a FISA approval, which is, by the way, the Federal International Security Agency.
Nope, Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Court, or surveillance application. FISA, Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Application, and then change the A for a C, it's court. So depending on what you're talking about.
Okay, so it's the FISA, it's the application for surveillance on a foreign government spy that is in the United States, so that we can basically tap their phones, check their phone records, etc.
Beyond that, but yes.
What's that?
Even beyond that, full surveillance. Anything you do, anything you say, this conversation is being recorded right now on my iPhone, and it's not even on. So, and we can get into that more later. But yes, continue.
So effectively, what came out on Monday or Tuesday, whenever it was, this week, was that the FBI fabricated records to the FISA court to basically get them a warrant against Trump's campaign in 2015. Mm-hmm. And it was corruption way back then. And that the corruption was started, from what I understand, by Fusion GPS. And Fusion GPS is a company that's founded by and funded by the DNC.
Who, by the way, is located in Ukraine.
No way. I did not know that.
CrowdStrike. CrowdStrike. I was thinking CrowdStrike. CrowdStrike is founded in Ukraine.
Yes,
My apologies.
That's okay. That's okay. That's all right. I mean, none of this has to be perfect. We're looking at this from an outsider looking in. We're not inside the intermesh workings of our government. We're Americans trying to figure out what the hell's going on. But to me, watching this happen in conjunction with, by the way, the same week that the House of Representatives impeaches Trump. Like, this is amazing. So did I miss any of that? Did I summarize it fairly well?
Summarized it fairly well. Yeah. What I like to liken the IG to is like the government watchdog. If there is suspected corruption or even actual corruption going on, it is the responsibility of the OIG, the Office of the Inspector General, not just one person, but the Office of the Inspector General, to investigate this fully. And like you said, supposed to be in nonpartisan ways. But the main thing I would like to add on to this is that the OIG himself does not have the authority to make arrests, to issue indictments, or anything of this nature. And this is where a lot of the mainstream media talking points right now are saying, see, we told you. You know, there's no
arrested, there's no charges. Yeah, no, that's bullshit. Okay,
yes.
So Joseph, if you don't mind, I'm going to sit back, and I would like you to educate me on this, because I don't think I'm the only one that's confused by what the hell is going on. Because you listen to mainstream media, you hear one thing. You listen to Fox News, you hear another. And you watch QAnon. By the way, I'd like you to take us into that slowly. But when you sent me those links, I watched that and I thought, oh my God, this is a freaking flat earth theory or something. And I was like, this is so conspiratorial. But then as I had to relax my mind a little bit. I had to actually talk myself off the ledge and say, what if? Right? Because when it first hit you, I don't know how it was for you, but for me, just now, this week, when it first hit me that there might be a deep state controlling all of this shit, and that the World Bank might be involved, I was mind blown. So I'm not gonna say you're crazy. I'm not gonna say you're right, but I'd like you to take us through it.
For sure. And I want to say this to anybody who may be listening to this. As James did, the first reaction you're probably going to get is that of mocking, scoffing, skepticism. Skepticism's good. The rest of it, not so much. So I ask anybody who's listening to this, if you've stuck with us this long, suspend belief for just a little while longer. Suspend belief and leave the possibility open to what I'm going to show you might actually be real. I'm not going to tell you what to believe. I'm going to show you what I have found, what continually comes out, and to me is why I can say I unequivocally believe the QAnon operation is a real, legitimate thing.
Now let me pause real quick. I did not know until you and I started talking in depth that Q/QAnon even existed. Mm-hmm. So, and by the way, I hope you don't mind, Joseph. I'm going to play a little bit of devil's advocate through this. Mm-hmm.
For sure.
I'm probably going to smoke a cigarette because it's a little stressful topic. But start off with when you bring up something new, tell us who they are. So who is QAnon? What is QAnon?
Okay, so I will definitely answer that. And I want to say one thing before that as well. When I talk to people about this subject, there's two things that happen. Either one thing, the reaction that you got, I've never heard of Q or QAnon. What the hell is this? The second reaction I get is, oh, yeah, that QAnon's conspiracy theory. Oh, you're effing crazy. And the reason for this is the mainstream media, literally for the past 2 years, has been running hit piece after hit piece after hit piece, basically labeling anybody who believes QAnon to be a conspiracy theorist, to be crazy, to be deranged, to be dangerous.
I read some of those, yeah.
And it's very easy to find. All you have to do is go to google.com, and that's specifically google.com, and there's a reason for this, and just type QAnon and just see page after page after page after page of hit pieces. You will not see a singular positive factual source about QAnon, specifically through the Google search engine, specifically. And there's a reason for that, and that's a whole nother rabbit hole that we can get into later. But anybody who wants to research any of this on their own, I highly recommend use a different search engine. Use DuckDuckGo. That's my search engine of preference right now, DuckDuckGo. Bing has also been surprisingly relatively good, but do not use Chrome or do not use Google. So I just wanted to preference all that.
I did not know that. Okay.
Yeah, and there's a very specific reasons why, like I said, we can get into, but we don't have to right now because it's a rabbit hole in and of itself. So QAnon. So who is QAnon? Okay, this is where I ask you all suspend disbelief. So back in 2015, actually, I'm going to take it back even further than that. Like we talked about in this last episode, we cannot separate what's going on this planet right now with spirituality. They are intricately tied. They cannot be separated. So everything that we're seeing playing out right now, all the chaos, all the negativity, all the darkness that's coming to the light right now, it didn't happen just overnight. And any of us should not be surprised to hear this. It's been going on for a very, 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 very long time.
Right.
So if darkness has been going on for a very, very, very long time, logic dictates too that positivity, goodness has also been going on for a very, very, very long time as well. Up until recently, darkness has been winning for reasons that beyond the scope of this podcast we can talk about later. But for the longest period of time, darkness on this planet has ruled the day. And again, it just takes anybody looking around to see the events of the world, see the state of the world, to see, yeah, this is not a very positive place. There certainly is positivity here, but mostly has been gripped in the turmoils of darkness for ages. Now is the time of the light. And I'm not getting biblical or anything like that, but literally now is the time of the light. Literally is now the time that's in spiritual practices called the Great Awakening. Q has even referenced it as the Great Awakening. So right off the bat, and I'm about to get into this really heavily, but I'm just setting the stage. Right off the bat, Q is letting us know that, hey, what's going on here is not political. What's going on here is not for the benefit of the few. What's going on here is much, much, much bigger than any of us can possibly imagine. They know this, and the more I dive into this, the more I know this. And the more I learn this stuff, the more I want to share it and share it with others.
Which I appreciate, but there's two pieces there that I need you to define because they're lost a little bit on me. If we haven't been studying this for a long time, number one, pretend, and I've heard of Q now, mm-hmm. and I've studied it a bit. Pretend I've never heard of Q.
Yep.
Describe what or who is Q.
Yep.
Or
Perfect.
Okay.
Perfect. So now that I've set the stage, it's time for the good guys to win, and we are winning. And this is where Q enters our picture. This is where Q comes into the world stage, because it's not just an American thing. It's not just a US thing. This is worldwide. It originated here and it started here, but it's worldwide. So Q, for those who don't know, back in 2015, Donald Trump was approached by members of the Positive Military. Okay. High-ranking members of the Positive Military approached Donald Trump and laid out for him basically the true state of the world, what's truly going on here, and laid out for him the 16-year plan that was in place, already completed the first 8 years with Barack Obama's term. The next 8 years was supposed to be Hillary Clinton's turn. And by the end of her reign, in fact, probably by the first 4 years of her reign, America would have been destroyed. There was a 16-year plot to destroy America. Now, this plot goes back much further than 16 years. America, here's one thing people don't realize. And before, I'm sorry, I'm getting off track. I will come back to who Q is. Believe me, I will. But I need to set the stage for people.
It's all good.
People in this country forget how great this country is. If you ask most anybody, if you asked me in my 20s, America, we've all heard it, America's the greatest nation on the planet. If you asked me in my 20s, I'd be like, no. It's like, look around here. It's like, there's nothing great about this place. There's very little great about this place. Since awakening myself, though, to the greater picture of what's going on, I actually see the wisdom in the statement that America is the greatest nation on this planet. In fact, America is so great because of the way its government is constructed, because of the way the Constitution is written, and our guaranteed Bill of Rights. Because of those three things, America as a government, as an entity, is basically the only thing standing between the darkness taking complete control of this world, creating the one world government that they've been trying to create for so long, destroying all nations, all sovereignty of people, and basically becoming serfs to the elite. That was their end goal. Now, people need to understand, and I want to reiterate that America is an amazing, amazing place. The people within our government, not all of them are corrupt. Most of them are. The vast majority of them are. I will not say all of them are corrupted willingly, though. Meaning, I do not believe that let's say the 100% of corrupt people in Washington, in our government society, not just Washington, but police, judges, lawyers, everything that makes up the law and order of our nation. Without law and order, we have no nation. Sorry, I was getting a little. I get a little emotional when I talk about this because, again, I view all this from the much higher perspective of good versus evil. So there were positive people in this nation, and positive people were seeing what was going on, very clearly seeing what was going on within the positive branches of the military. And the positive branches of the military, as a last resort, and I can name some of these people: Admiral Mike Rogers, number one; General Michael Flynn, number two. These are all people who have been demonized, villainized by the mainstream media these past 2 years. Just go Google General Michael Flynn, go Google Admiral Mike Rogers, and you'll just see hit piece after hit piece on these two people. Why? Because these two people were instrumental, along with Bill Binney, there are others, were instrumental in uncovering unequivocal proof of the 16-year plot to destroy America. And they were not going to sit by and let that happen. So the military has this information. The positive military has this information. What do they do with it? They basically come up with plans A through Z. Okay, and I'll tell you plan Z first. Plan Z, which was the absolute last, the last plan. They did not want to do this, but they were willing to do it if necessary, but it was their last possible choice, was to openly overthrow our government with our own military, overthrow the corrupt people, arrest them all, and basically we would come under martial law. There would be a hugely chaotic period of time. People would not understand what was going on. As you're looking at, and I see the look on your face right now, people would be even more crazy. People would be more like, what the F are you talking about? What is going on? There would be revolts, revolutions. They knew that if they were to go that route, that it would be bad. So they needed a different route to go. They needed to try to win this legally, positively.
So let me pause you on this for a minute, because I need to understand the conflict and its source. Because for me, you use the word they in context of some sort of etherical or unknown, or you could call it deep state force, who wanted to overthrow not just our government, but the governments of the world, right? I'm constantly a skeptic, Joseph. And so as a result of that, I immediately look for motive. What the hell kind of motive would they, whatever, and if you can define they, that'd be great, but let's just leave it at they for now, unless you can define it. What the hell kind of motive would they have for overturning the US government or any other government? And what's the goal? What's the purpose? Can you tell me that? Because that's the premise of all of this that we're talking about.
Would it surprise you that their goals are openly displayed on a monument in Georgia?
Yes, that would surprise the shit out of me.
Look up the Georgia Guidestones. In fact, I could pull it up and I could do a screen share if you really wanted me to. The Georgia Guidestones is what they're called. Basically, this outlays.
Look it up right now. Keep going. Keep going.
It's basically it's a monument that is James is going to look it up, and we probably should just screen share and just show a picture of it instead of me trying to describe it. But basically, it's these huge plaques. And on each of these plaques are all the same thing is written on them, but they're written in different languages. English, whatever, Chinese. There's 8, I think it's represented in 8 different languages. Look at number 1 on that list. It says, I'm doing this off the head, so I'm not going to get it exactly right. It says, maintain humanity at a population of 500 million in perpetual, here we go. Here's what it looks like.
Yeah, I'm bringing it up. Is this what you're talking about?
Yep, this is Georgia Guidestones.
So
keep going. It's at the very, very tippy top. It's number 1 on their list. There it goes, right there. Maintain humanity under 500 million in perpetual balance with nature. Okay, think about that statement for a minute.
What the hell? I've never seen this before.
Think about this statement for a minute. 500 million people. Last time I heard, there were something like 8.5 billion people on this planet. So that means something like an 85 to 90% reduction in the overall planetary population.
Guide reproduction wisely.
That whole guide reproduction wisely, look up the topic of eugenics.
Oh, it is? Yeah.
Yes, this is their plan. This is their end goal. Openly displayed for all to see.
Holy cow, that's pretty crazy. Okay, anyway, so you think that this is they?
This is most assuredly they. And the reason I say that, and I say it with such confidence, and I talked about this a little bit on the last podcast we did, in order for evil to do evil, there's a universal law that states that they have to tell us what they're doing. So basically it says God just doesn't let evil do evil just because. They have to tell us what they are doing. And if we do not resist it, and if we just accept it, basically we are saying on the spiritual level, our free will is saying, go ahead, do these evil things to us. So the black magicians know this. They know how the universal law of free will works. And they know how to work their black magic. This is how they do it. They openly display their goals, their symbols, their agendas, who they are, who they're with. They openly display it for us all. And most of us just laugh at it like, hey, look at this fool. No, this is dead serious.
So you talk about black magic, black magicians here. Should we dive into that now, or should we get a little more into the IG report and what that means for the U.S. first? Like, I mean,
it really depends where you want to take this, because like I said, I've got a whole litany of things lined up that I can show you, and then just rabbit hole after rabbit hole we can go down. Well, but look, we don't need to go down the route of black magicians. But let me say this about black magic and black magicians, just so we can get this part of it clear in everybody's mind. What do you know the difference between black magic and white magic? First of all, do you even know that there is such a thing as black magic and white magic? Let me ask you that. Fair enough. Most people would say no. Most people would say magic is bullshit. Okay? Most people would say magic is bullshit.
Magic is something I see on Penn and Teller, dude.
Correct. Most people associate magic with that.
Yeah.
No, there is such a...
Basically. So bring real light to it from your perspective, okay? I'm not going to say I'm going to agree with you, but...
For sure. No, for sure. Everything I say, use discernment.
Okay.
The difference between white magic and black magic. People who practice black magic and the people who follow the people who practice black magic, look who is enriched by that process. Meaning, people who are in the dark arts, are into Luciferianism. You wanted me to name it. There it is. Luciferianism, the belief that Lucifer is the true God and the God that we all see is really the deceiver.
It's basically Satanism, same thing.
Same thing. I don't like the term Satanism because there's just a lot of other connotations that go with that. I'm more on the occult level. I know it more as Luciferianism.
Okay, that's fine. That's new to me, but okay.
So anyway, within black magic, people do black magic to harm others, for self-gain, to enrich themselves. Okay, that's what black magic is. The enrichment and empowerment of me at the detriment of you.
Okay.
White magic, on the other hand, is the empowerment of everybody, of all people involved. And this is where the positive path comes from.
Define magic real quick.
Magic for me is really, I don't believe that there's anything magic. Magic is something that has a basis in reality, but that basis in reality we don't fully understand yet. For instance, if we were to take a car and go back in time to a caveman, they would think that's a magical device. To us, it's not. Magic, the people who practice magic, these magicians, I'll name a few. You want me to name a few? I'll name a few. Aleister Crowley, Jack Parsons of JPL from NASA. These are all black magicians, practiced Luciferianism. This is a very real thing. And the people, and I'm gonna get into this here in a second because we are gonna circle back to who Q is because we haven't gotten there yet. We are
I
gonna
know.
circle back.
We get distracted, but it's okay.
Well, no, we're not distracted. We're definitely not distracted because all of this, Q talks about all of this. Okay, this is not Q. Q is not just something that's revolving around just one little political thing that's going on in our country. Q is much more involved, and Q, throughout the entirety of its existence, has espouted that this is a spiritual war. This is a war between good and evil. And so everything we're talking about now has direct implications to what we will be talking about later with Q. Excuse me.
And
So
you just use the word Q with the word its, meaning possessive it. Is Q a person or a man or a woman or a group? Like, do you know?
yes, I do. Okay, so let's circle back to that topic. Now that we kind of set more of the stage up, let's circle back to that topic.
And by the way, just so you know, soon as we start talking about magic in the context of, even if it's just religion, but if we go to politics, I get a little bit spooked, just so you know. So take it easy on me. Take me slow through this because my skeptic hat pops up, right? So talk to me about Q, and then guide me through what's happening right now with the IG.
Okay. And I'll have to be a little bit brief because there's so much that's happened between then and now. So anyway, circling back, like I'll leave off exactly where I started. Trump, president, or then just Donald Trump, was approached in 2015 by members of the positive military, the people who were for America, for the Constitution, for the people. Okay, that's when I say positive military, that's specifically what I'm referring to. They approached him and laid all this out for him. Everything that we just talked about, laid it all out for him, and basically said, we need to do this a different way. We need to do this legally and in a way that will get the people on board. And so they directly, straight up asked Trump to run for president with their full support, which is basically unprecedented. Now, as far as, so anyway, that's how that's how Trump got into the presidential race to begin with. He was never going to run. It was never his ambition to run for president of the United States. He's a billionaire. He's old. He's got a wonderful life. He can spend the rest of his days golfing. But so why would he involve himself in something to where he's constantly attacked, constantly trying to be assassinated? We'll get into that later.
Well, no, there was a bunch, and I was one of them. I was one of them looking at this, trying to figure out, as a skeptic, trying to ascribe motive for why the hell is he running for president? Like, you don't need that.
Yep.
If I were in his shoes, I wouldn't want those sleepless nights. You know what I mean? Like,
I know exactly what you mean.
So anyway, keep going.
And that's exactly my point. Like, anybody who's listening to this, put yourself in his position. Put yourself as a billionaire. As you've done, there's no way you would want to give up that life to go and to run for and be president of the United States, unless you had
for some reason my ego needed stroking, which I don't think his does.
You're a billionaire. How much more does your ego need to be stroked? You're getting stroked every day by everybody around you, right? Yeah, so, okay. So
yeah. It's a good point, though.
So anyway, this is how Donald Trump came to run for president. The Q operation, though, didn't come into existence until later, actually, until after President Trump came into office. The Q operation officially went live on October 28th of 2017. Now, as far as I say the Q operation. So when I say QAnon, you can say I'm referring to either the operation or the people involved in the operation as people, not person. Let's get into a little bit who Q is. So Q itself, and I've actually got something I can show, because Q just let us know in even more detail specifically who they are. But originally, when we first got introduced to Q, we were told that Q was members of the military intelligence, working directly in concert with the Trump administration.
No shit.
Yes. So, like I said, the military was going to have Trump's full support. Trump was going to enjoy the military's full support. What that entailed was this Q operation. What needs to be what I need to stress, and I need to stress it hard because people like you who've got their skeptic hat just dinging and all this other stuff, that's by design. Like anytime somebody comes at you, is talking to you about topics that are just seemingly as outlandish as this, immediately people are their immediate response is to throw up a whoa, I don't accept this type of response.
I'm not saying I don't accept it. I'd love to see more. I'd love to see.
And I'm hoping by the end of this call and after the end of all the things I'm going to show you, you will be like, whoa, okay, there is something to this. That's my hope.
Bring it. Let's do it.
Anyway, I will bring it, but let me finish up this thought. So as to what the purpose of Q is. So we've established who Q is. Let's talk about the purpose. What is the purpose of Q? Well, the purpose of Q is really a public awakening operation. It's really a positive PSYOP, psychological operation, positive oriented, not negative oriented. Meaning that if out of the blue, again, let's go back to that Plan Z scenario. If out of the blue, all of a sudden out of nowhere, we woke up one morning and all of a sudden tanks were in the streets, soldiers were marching in the streets, Washington's on lockdown, Hillary Clinton, James Comey, and all these other traitorous people that I can name are all swept up and arrested. What would the mainstream media be doing right now? They'd be screaming at the top of their lungs that this is a political hit, that see, Trump is getting rid of all his enemies, we were onto him, and it would just incite such an uproar of anger and of revolution that it would just not be good. So the Q operation knew that they needed a way to show the people the truth, one, without breaking national security laws, very important.
I have to pause you because you predicated this whole thing on something that I'd never heard of before, and you called it Plan Z. You got to describe that. What's Plan Z?
Well, I just described it. Is the military, if President Trump did not agree to, if President Trump did not agree to run for president, and they could not find a suitable second person to run for president and to try to do this legally, if that could not happen, their very last resort, I'm calling it Plan Z, maybe it was Plan F, it doesn't really matter, but their very last resort that the military had was open military coup. Tanks in the streets, soldiers in the streets, people getting arrested, roundups. It would be chaotic, and they knew that.
So we have two different versions of they. We have the they that you described as the 16-year plan creators. Mm-hmm. Obama and Hillary Clinton were going to be a part of that 16-year plan. Mm-hmm. That was the they that were on that monument that we read earlier. Mm-hmm. Okay. Then we have the other they, which is the opposition force. You name either one, good or bad, but one of them allows 7, 8, 9 billion people to live, and the other one wants 500,000 people on the planet.
Mm-hmm. 500 million, but yeah.
How many?
500 million.
500 million. Okay, 500 million. Thank you. So I just wanted to clarify that. So what you're saying basically is that they, the ones that are in opposition to let's trim the fat and get rid of basically 8.5 or 7.5 billion people, the opposition to them was the positive military that wanted Trump to run for president, because Plan Z was, if he doesn't run for president, and if we can't elect a global world leader legally, we're going to have to do a coup and use force. Am I right there?
For the most part, I mean, the America isn't not the positive Americans are not looking for a world government, a one world government, a one world leader. That is purely a negative agenda. The positive military within our country was strictly looking out for its people, its government, its constitution.
Okay.
Like I said, though, remember, this is not just an American thing. Q is an American operation and originated in America, but this opposition force that you're calling it, this positive opposition force that you're calling it, is going on worldwide. There are mass protests going on all around the world, rising up against their own corrupt governments because they're sick of it. Everybody is now starting to wake up and see the truth for themselves, and that is the purpose of Q. That is the mission of QAnon. It is to provide the people a slice of the picture. They're not giving us 100% of the picture. So let me be clear on that. I don't have 100% of the picture. Nobody does. They are giving us a slice of the overall picture that most everybody else, including you until soon, has never seen before. And those people like me who have followed Q from the very, very jump. I've been on this literally from the very beginning. I got on it one day late. It came out October 28th. I was on it October 29th. And that was only because the first 2 Q posts weren't labeled Q. They were just anonymous posts. And it was later determined that they were Q. Anyway, side history there.
So in your view, do you think that Q/QAnon is a conspiracy group in and of itself that wants control?
Oh, I see what you're asking. No, I do not. And I unequivocally say no to that. And we might as well get into it really soon, as far as like the things I'm going to show you about Q. Right now, just during this talk, we described, okay, who Q is and what their purpose is. And the purpose of let me finish the one thought about the purpose, because that's when you came in. The people like me who have been following Q, and not just me, there are many others, okay? So I'm not just trying to claim exclusivity. It is our job to help the people who don't know about Q, like what we're doing right now. I'm informing you. I'm telling you this stuff, and I'm going to show you the proof. It's not just me talking. I'm going to show you the proof of some of the things that I've been talking about, and then leave it up to that person to then come up and break their own mental programming to then awaken themselves. That is the mission of Q.
Okay, pause for just a second. I've got a buzzy video going on. Hang on. Yeah, absolutely. All right, I'm going to start recording again. Let's see how that goes. All right. Yeah, Joseph, I would let me be your student. Take me through.
Okay. So let me show. I took some time to put together some things. Let's see that I can show you.
Go ahead. I think you've got the rights to share.
Yep, I do, and I'm just getting it set up now. And let me know, James, whenever.
I can see it.
Okay, you're back. You're good.
Yep.
Okay, awesome. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to jump around. This is not going to be in any kind of real chronological order. That would just simply be too hard for me to, with the limited time I had. But I want to jump around and basically give you highlights, what I consider things that are really, really, really memorable to help people make up their own mind of whether or not this Q thing is real or not. And one of the very first things I want to point you to is this tweet from back in May 31st, 2017. So this is before the Q operation went live. So I wanted to make this point. So this is President Trump's been elected and prior to Q going live. Donald Trump, in the context for this tweet, is Donald Trump's been getting slammed by the media like we've already been talking about. And he sends out this tweet, says, despite the constant negative press, Kofife.
What the hell does that mean?
Well, that Kofife, and hang on, let me follow it up. He later sent, a couple hours later, who can figure out the true meaning of Kofife? Enjoy. So he knows very clearly what he's doing, what he typed. He knows he didn't type a misspelling, but yet if you look at all of these replies below these tweets, it's just people bashing him for being an idiot, for not knowing what the F he's talking about. And mainstream media spent ridiculous amount of resources writing articles just bashing Trump over this Kofife. Okay, so when I say that we cannot separate this from spirituality. In the spiritual war, this is my very first example of that. So Kofife, what does Kofife mean?
Yeah, what the hell does it mean?
Due to the amazing diligence of us Anons doing digging and whatnot, we finally uncovered what Kofife means. Come to find out, it is an antediluvian term. Okay, antediluvian means pre-flood. The pre-flood meaning the flood that wiped out Atlantis. It's an antediluvian term that the sons of Adam would rail against the actions of the fallen for leading men astray. And the meaning was, in the end, we win. In the end, we win. Another way of saying that is, in the end, God wins.
Wow.
Okay? So, right off the bat, before Q even comes on stage, President Trump is letting us know what the deal is. He knows what the deal is. He's letting us know. Okay? So
Wow.
I wanted to show you those two things. The second thing I wanted to show you, and I'm going to get into what this site is here in a second, but the second thing I wanted to show you to let you know that, again, Q is fully aware that this is a spiritual war. This has been posted many times, the Armor of God prayer. It's from Corinthians. Here, Corinthians and Ephesians. I want to take the time, let me read this to you because it's effing powerful. And just anybody who's just listening and not watching this so they can hear it themselves. Again, this has been posted many, many times by Q. It says, the armor of God, finally be strong in the Lord and in his mighty power. Put on the full armor of God so that you can take your stand against the devil's schemes. For our struggle is not against flesh and blood, but against the rulers, against the authorities, against the powers of this dark world, and against the spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly realms. Therefore, put on the full armor of God, so that when the day of evil comes, you may be able to stand your ground, and after you have done everything, to stand. Stand firm then, with the belt of truth buckled around your waist, with the breastplate of righteousness in place, and with the feet fitted with the readiness that comes from the gospel of peace. In addition to all of this, take up the shield of faith, with which you can extinguish all the flaming arrows of the evil one. Take the helmet of salvation and the sword of the Spirit, which is the word of God. Prepare for God and country, for humanity we fight. Q.
Damn, dude. I just got chills.
I'm starting to break up because I get emotional when I talk about this stuff because it is so profound.
It is.
Okay, so right off the bat, Q is letting us know, President Trump is letting us know what we're dealing with here. What we're dealing with here is not something political. It is something much, much more profound than that.
And probably, and most importantly, more important and profound than political, and more important and profound than just the U.S.
I completely
If this
agree.
is true, I mean, I keep my skeptic hat on. Okay,
keep it on. Keep it on. I want to blow it off by the end of this, but keep it on.
Keep going. Keep going. This is a
All
trick.
Right. Okay. So I wanted to introduce you and basically people listening to those first two examples of why I say
that's pretty powerful.
Yeah. So anyway, let's get to talking about I did have one more example. I'm only going to read probably the first part of this, but this is from Q Post back in November of 2018. That also lets us know what's going on. It says, the entire world is watching, which is true. Like I just said, Q has been adopted worldwide. Patriots from around the world are praying for America. We are all bound by a feeling deep inside, a feeling that cannot be publicly expressed for fear of ridicule, a feeling that challenges the mainstream narrative against that which we are told to accept and dare not question. Put simply, the people are being abused by those in power and time is running out. Remember the battles of Lexington and Concord. Give me liberty or give me death. For far too long, we have remained silent and allowed our bands of strength that we once formed to defend liberty and freedom to deteriorate. We became divided. We became weak.
Right now. That's what's happening right now.
Yes, we became divided. We became weak. We elected traitors to govern us. We allowed evil to prey on us. Those who claimed to represent us gave us false hope, made false promises. The evil and corruption only grew. And it goes on from there.
hang on. For those who are just listening, this is more than party politics. This is about restoring old glory. This is about us saving our land and our people from those who wish us harm.
This is about preserving our republic. This is about preserving our safety. This is about restoring our strength. This is about life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. This is about protecting our children. And this is huge, huge. And I will get into this later.
This is Q writing this.
This is Q. Yes, Q. This is about saving America.
We do not look at race. We do not look at skin color.
Yes,
we
are all God's children.
This is amazing. I did not know this was Q.
This is all Q. Again, the positive military intelligence working in concert with the Trump administration. Okay, that's going to be the hard part for most people to fully accept. I suspect that people, when seeing all this, would be like, oh, wow, Q might legitimately be real. But the part that's going to trip them up and the part that's going to prevent them from fully accepting it is the fact that this person that they've been programmed to demonize, to hate, is the leader of this Q movement. That's going to be the part that's tripping most people up.
Yeah, because I read probably, I don't know, 8-10 articles about how Q was all right and the QAnon movement was such a negative thing. So keep going, bro. I'm enjoying this so far.
Okay, so those are just a few examples I wanted to pull to show you all right off the bat, because again, this is most important. Everything else is just commentary. This is what's most important.
Okay, keep going.
So let's move on. What I wanted to do was I wanted to take us on a very quick history lesson. How did we get here? Okay, because this is also very, very important. And while events leading up to World War II are most definitely important to getting us where we are here, I am delineating in the sand World War II, post-World War II, as what directly is responsible for getting us to the state we are in today. And what I want to tell you is what we have learned about World War II is a lie. Okay, most of us were all taught that Adolf Hitler committed suicide in his bunker. As you can see right here by this article I've got, the FBI have released their documentation, declassified their documentation, proving that America knew that Adolf Hitler escaped Nazi Germany at the end of the war, fled to Bariloche, Argentina, and lived out the rest of his life there. Not just him, but many, many others in the higher echelons of the Nazi Party. So right off the bat, we've been lied to about how the war ended. So, and I wanted to bring this particular article up because what I'm saying is not conspiracy theory. What I'm saying is legitimate fact. The FBI has documentation proving that they were investigating Hitler in Argentina. Okay, so right off the bat, we are being told, we are being lied to. So following the war, let me zoom in a little bit here. Following the war, this Operation Paperclip take place. And I like this because it's very, very true. It says the Nazis didn't lose, they moved to America. Now, what this is, and let me go ahead and read the bottom here for people just listening. It says, from 1945, which was the end of World War II, to 1955, Operation Paperclip granted nearly 1,000 German scientists American citizenship. Many had been longtime members of the Nazi Party and the Gestapo, and had conducted experiments on humans at concentration camps and committed other war crimes. The scientists ended up in the US military-industrial complex, worked directly with the CIA, NASA, and more. One of the Nazi experiments that continued in America was mind control, also known as the CIA's Project MK-Ultra. And what this is showing you here is this bottom picture here of all these scientists. This is all these people were part of Nazi Germany, heavy Nazi supporters that came over as part of this Operation Paperclip. There were more, but this is like one of the big ones. And you could see the very first NASA administrator, Werner von Braun, came over as part of Operation Paperclip. Arthur Rudolph, one of the lead NASA scientists, same thing. Sidney Gottlieb headed up I believe he was headed up or was the first director of the CIA. I can't quite remember which, but he was very instrumental in the creation and the formation of the CIA. So what am I saying here? What am I really getting at by showing you this? What I'm showing you is right from the end of World War II up until 1955, our government, our beloved government, at that point was completely infiltrated by the very people that we were taught that we were going to war against. We were going to get war against Nazi Germany to defeat this evil empire, yet at the end of the war, these people come over and become integrated into our society and into big positions of power. This is very important. You skip on.
Dude, that's a trip, by the way. Like, anyway, keep going. That's kind of mind blowing. How do I know this isn't just a meme that some conspiracy theorist created?
I fully invite you to go look up all of this for yourself. Look it up, but don't use Google. Please do not use the Google browser. And there's a very reason for that. Or don't use the Google search engine. There's a very specific reason for that.
What did you say to use? What was your search engine?
DuckDuckGo.
Okay. All right. Keep going, bro. I'm keeping an open mind as best I can. This is just a trip.
Okay. So let me get the time. Let me reset the timeline. World War II ends. Operation Paperclip happens.
Okay.
Now that let me also say one other thing too. Prior to World War II, the CIA didn't exist. Prior to World War II, the closest thing we had to the CIA was called the OSS, the Office of Strategic Services. The CIA was a creation and basically a monster creation of this whole Operation Paperclip. Okay.
I didn't know that. Okay.
So now that you know what the CIA is, who's running the CIA, really running at the very tippy top, let's talk about Operation Mockingbird.
Zoom in on that.
Okay, let's see. Is that better?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, so let's talk about Operation Mockingbird. This is a particular story from Humans Are Free. I actually like this. I like this website quite a bit. 1 second. Sorry about that. So let's talk about Operation Mockingbird. What is Operation Mockingbird? Well, you can see here it says about a third of the entire CIA budget went to media propaganda operations. We're talking about hundreds of millions of dollars a year just for that. Close to $1 billion are spent every single year by the United States on secret propaganda. Okay, and this is testimony before Congress. That's not just conjecture, that's actual testimony.
Dude.
Okay, so Operation Mockingbird, I'm just going to give a very quick, because anybody can read this for themselves. But Operation Mockingbird, the whole point was to get CIA loyalists, CIA assets into the mainstream media, posing as reporters, posing as news journalists, as anchors on news programs, with their whole goal of shaping and manipulating public perception, public opinion. Now, I'm going to continue this even further and
this
say,
is like Good Morning Vietnam kind of things right here.
This is what's enslaved us, and this is why I'm really harping on this. I'm trying to show everybody the how.
It's good. Keep going. Keep going. Yeah.
So now that we know what Operation Mockingbird is and its purpose is to infiltrate the mainstream media and to basically mind control the people by giving them a fed narrative. So how does that actually play out? Let me show you this. For those that don't know, let me zoom in. Let me show you this. In 1983, 90% of American media was owned by 50 companies. By 2011, that same 90% is controlled by 6 companies. And down below, you can see the 6 major media corporations that control all, or it says 90%. It's actually now closer to 95, 96%, that control virtually all of the media in America.
Look at the list. You got ABC, NBC, Fox, CNN, 60 Minutes, and then a bunch of,
And look, keep in mind that these are the like the big names that we've got all the other spin-offs and affiliates of all these companies that all report up under the same thing.
Journal under News Corp, New York Post.
Mm-hmm.
Dude. Now, it's interesting that Fox is owned by one of these big corporations too.
Fox is not exempt. Fox is just as corrupt as the rest of them. The difference with Fox, and I will say, it's a very small difference. There are two people on Fox that are worth trusting, and that's only because Q has explicitly told us. That's Sarah Carter and Sean Hannity. Those two, Sean Hannity. Those two people on Fox are actually reporting truth. So yes, but aside from that, Fox is pure garbage. I'm just letting you know now.
Isn't it possible, playing devil's advocate here, isn't it possible that Q is part of the spin and part
Again,
of, you know,
I mean, yes, it is possible. It's very possible. I'm not going to sit here and just declare that that's not a possibility. But again, anytime that arises, think back. Think back to this. Think back to the armor of God. Think back to, I'm not even done yet, but think back to all of the other things I'm going to be showing you here and ask yourself this question. If Q was of a negative origin, would he be showing us all this? Would he be enlightening us, awakening us to all of this? It would be so much easier. It would be so much easier if if Q was either A, not real, or if Q was negative. It would be so much easier if Hillary Clinton would have won the election. So when I put all of this stuff together.
No, you're right. Okay, I'm gonna keep an open mind still. I'm just like,
anyway. No, keep asking me. Keep hitting me with the doubt.
Keep going. Keep going. It's just tripping me out. This is crazy.
It should trip you out. It should, one, trip you out, and then two, it should scare the shit out of you. And then three, it should anger you, and then four, it should make you want to it should make you want to wake up even more. That's hopefully the goal of this.
All right. Keep going.
So now the last thing I'm going to show you. Okay, of everything I've showed you so far, this is the most damning piece of evidence I have to show you how corrupt and complicit the mainstream media is in all of this, Jack. I'll read you the headline first. It says, will Trump reinstate the Smith-Mundt Act Obama repealed and once again ban state-sponsored propaganda? Okay, let me read this little highlighted section here. Can you read it? Can you see this highlighted section?
Yeah, zoom in a little bit.
A little bit more? All right, let me read this to you because this will blow your mind.
Okay, I see it now.
On December 29th, 2012, President Obama signed H.R. 4310 at night, during the holidays, in the dark, so that no one would even know. The 2013 National Defense Authorization Act, Section 1078, and there's a link for it, of the bill authorizes the use of propaganda inside the U.S., which had previously been banned since 1948 when the Smith-Mundt Act was passed. The media was also reclassified as entertainment.
No shit.
In February 2003, a federal court of appeals unanimously agreed with an assertion by Fox News that there is no rule against distorting or falsifying the news in the United States.
No freaking way.
Now, damn it, if you cannot read that and not get pissed off, I don't know what to tell you. This is the single most damning piece over Operation Mockingbird, over everything I just outlined for you of how we got to here. This is the single most damning piece of evidence that I have to say that the mainstream media is feeding you bullshit. They're feeding you lies, an agenda, a narrative, and that narrative is not for you. I promise you. So,
dude, that's pretty freaking spooky, honestly.
So we can pause here for a second if you want to clear before I move on to the next stuff. Oh, wait, there's actually one more thing I did want to show you in reference to the media. Sorry.
We got 20 minutes left or 15 minutes left.
Oh, that's it? Oh, man. I'm not going to get into near enough what I want to get into.
That's okay. We can extend. We can extend. Keep going.
Okay. So Q has made several posts of this, but let me read a little bit of this one. What happens when 90% of the media is controlled and owned by 6 corporations? What happens when those same corporations are operated and controlled by a political ideology? What happens when the news is no longer free of bias? What happens when the news is no longer reliable and independent? What happens when the news is no longer trustworthy?
Oh.
What happens when the news simply becomes an extension arm of a political party? Fact becomes fiction. Fiction becomes fact. When does news become propaganda? Identity creation. How does the average person, this is important, how does the average person who is under constant financial stress by design find time to research and discern fact from fiction?
Yeah, exactly.
Majority of people more prone to believe someone in power sitting behind a big brand news name. Do people, the human psyche, tend to follow the majority mainstream viewpoint in fear of being isolated and or shunned?
Yeah.
Mainstream is used for a reason, dominate the trend of opinion. If the majority of people believe X, then X must be true. Why do mainstream media heads within different orgs always use the same keywords and or catchphrases?
I've
And I'll show
wondered
you.
about that.
I'll show you proof of this here in just 2 seconds. Coordinated by who? Outside entity providing instructions? Do they count on the fact that people, the human psyche, are more prone to believe something if heard over and over again by different quote-unquote trusted sources?
Absolutely, they do.
Do echo chamber tactics provide validation, credibility to the topic point being discussed? Echo chamber meaning you only invite people on your news program that agree with your points of view, and those people are basically just spitting out the same thing that you've been saying, just using different words. Echo chamber.
Yeah.
Lost.
Same thing on social media or the Book of Face, by the way. Like the friends that you tend to associate with become your own echo chamber.
Exactly. And then it goes on to ask, is this a threat to intellectual freedom? Would control of these institutions, organizations allow for the mass control of populations' viewpoints regarding a desired topic?
You bet your ass it would.
And Q tells us, I'll read all that again and digest. So, and it goes on from even, it does actually, this is actually really important. With control.
Go down to they want you to be divided.
Yeah.
Read that out. Read that out.
Let me get to this a little bit more important before that. Hang on 1 second.
Yeah, this is actually pretty good, dude. Really good.
Okay, I'll start here.
Yeah, no, go to why after the election of 2016. Read that.
Okay. It says, why after the election of 2016 did Democrats, and Media Corps jumpstart a coordinated and planned divisive blitz intended to create falsehoods regarding illegitimacy of the election, character assassination of POTUS through sexism, racism, and every other racism?
Oh, man.
Says, why were violent and often masked terror orgs such as Antifa immediately created and funded? Remember, Antifa did not exist prior to the 2016 election. And yet all of a sudden, bam, they're on the scene, highly organized and well-funded. How? It says, why were these orgs tasked with immediate intimidation and shutdown of any pro-POTUS rally and or event? Why were marches immediately organized to counter and silence pro-POTUS rallies and or events? Why were marches immediately organized which divide people into sex, gender, race, isms? When you control
that's so true, because the divisiveness has come since Trump got elected.
Exactly.
It's been it was
you
there
didn't hear before, you didn't hear any of this shit prior. You're right.
No, you're right. I didn't even realize it, but the timing gets blurred when you're in the midst of it. But you're right. Or he's
okay. So here we go. Here's where it gets really good. As if it hasn't gotten good yet. Here we go. It says, when you control the levers of news dissemination, you control the narrative. Control of the narrative equals power. When you are blind, what do you see? Nothing. They want you divided by religion, divided by sex, divided by political affiliation, divided by class. When you are divided and angry and controlled, you target those different from you, not those responsible, i.e. the controllers.
Oh, yeah.
Divided, you are weak. Divided, you pose no threat to their control. When non-dogmatic information becomes free and transparent, it becomes a threat to those who attempt to control the narrative and or the stable, i.e. us, sheep. They call us sheep.
Repeat that again. When
non-dogmatic information becomes free and transparent, it becomes a threat to those who attempt to control the narrative over us. When you are awake, you stand on the outside of the stable, outside of the groupthink collective, and you have free thought. Free thought is a philosophical viewpoint which holds that positions regarding truth should be formed on the basis of logic, reason, empiricism, rather than authority, tradition, revelation, or dogma. Q.
Dude, we could just stop the podcast right there and then have that as the highlight reel. Like, holy crap. I mean, I want you to continue, but give me a second to digest this for a second, because what they are saying right now is exactly what I've been feeling, that the divisiveness it's a tool. There's something underlying it that eventually will benefit us, but that's only because I have faith. Without faith, the divisiveness that's happening seems terminal. Does that make sense?
For sure. That they have to keep us divided, because once we unify and realize who our real enemy is, they're done. They're absolutely done.
Keep going. I'm loving this. Okay, keep going.
So, okay, my last thing about the media before I go on to really.
I'm loving it. All right, keep going.
So this is the next post.
Podcast, man.
So this is the next post. So after that big long post I just read, which was extremely powerful, Q post an example, a living example for us to all witness for ourselves. And this is coming. Let's see if this works on the podcast. I hope it does. If not, I'll link you the video below. But this is it's short. It's only a minute 37. I won't even show the whole video. I'll just show you up about half of it because it'll get the point across really quickly. So here we go. Let me know if this comes through.
Volume up.
Okay, it's not coming through my microphone. It's coming through my regular speakers. How am I going to be able to show this to you?
I can hear it a little bit. If you move closer, you can
tell you what. Yeah, you know what? I'll just take I'll take my headset off, and I'll put my microphone next to the speaker so you can hear.
Yeah,
it.
And then play it.
Here we go. Hang on.
Headley.
And I'm Ryan Wolf.
Our greatest responsibility is to serve our
Treasure Valley communities,
the El Paso, Las Cruces communities, Eastern Iowa communities,
Mid-Michigan communities.
We are extremely proud of the quality, balanced journalism that CBS 4 News produces.
But
we are one-sided stories plaguing our country.
The sharing of biased and false news has become all too common on social media. More alarming, some media outlets publish these same fake stories without checking facts first.
The sharing of biased and false
news has become all too common on social media.
More alarming, some media outlets publish these things simply aren't true without checking facts first. Unfortunately, some members
I don't know anyone on the planet. Joseph, that can watch that and not get a chill up their spine.
Yes.
Like,
yes.
It's almost demonic control. Like, holy shit.
Luciferian agenda. This is how they control the people who only trust authority and they don't trust themselves.
Wow, man. Okay.
So I wanted to show you that because that is, again, unequivocal proof that the mainstream media doesn't matter. Look at all these different affiliates and they're all saying the exact, not even the same topics, they're saying verbatim the exact words.
Well, and that's probably the 10th video I've watched that was like that. So that's not just one. That it is one of many.
Oh, many. Yes. But I want to highlight that.
It would take a long ass time to edit that together. It's possible to, fake that, but I can't help but think that there is a coordinated effort from somewhere, someone or some group to say, this is what you're going to push today.
Mm-hmm.
And it's spooky as shit. And I am not a conspiracy theorist. I don't wear a tinfoil hat. But I'm a skeptic of everything. And so when I see that, it's just freaking spooky, man.
So let me show you the mechanism behind that. Okay. Yeah. So assuming that video is real, okay, we'll just leave it at that. Okay, then that means there has to be some kind of mechanism that gets these talking points out to all these different news organizations. So how does that work?
Yeah, how does it?
Let me show you. Right there. Can you see did it pop up with a bunch of pictures now? Okay, so I want to point you down here to this particular person named James Dolan.
Okay, I got it.
I'm going to read this for you real quick. James Dolan, co-creator of SecureDrop, dead at 36. SecureDrop was acquired by the Freedom of the Press Foundation, a CIA front company to catch and eliminate whistleblowers. Now let me bring this over here. This is Secure Drop. Can you see Secure Drop?
Yeah.
Anybody can hit this, securedrop.org, and you can see down here at the very bottom, it says it's a freedom of the press, project of the freedom of the press. Freedom of the Press Foundation, as Q has said, is a CIA front company responsible for eliminating whistleblowers. And how this works is, say I'm a whistleblower for a company that has really, really damaging information, and I needed to get that information out to somebody, or get it to a reporter, for instance. Secure Drop would be a method that is directed to that person to upload the information that they have in a quote-unquote secure and anonymous way.
Hopefully, except that the founder of it died, quote unquote, by suicide. But yeah, keep going.
And so the CIA gets the whistleblowers documentation information from the Secure Drop site, and if it's of a nature that they don't want getting out, well, you may never hear from that whistleblower again. Now, that's one purpose of this particular site. The second purpose of this site, which is not so in your face, is not so evident, is the fact that at 4 a.m. every morning, the mainstream media, what are called talking points, get distributed to all the news organizations through this Secure Drop. 4 a.m. every day. So this is how, where'd that video go? Oh, I closed the video, but this is how the news all says the same thing, not just topic-wise, not just talking point-wise, but almost verbatim. It's because they are getting their news from the CIA, Operation Mockingbird. Completely fabricated. It's a narrative. It's not true. So this is the how-to, the mechanism for how what I just showed you works.
All right, keep going, Joseph. We got 15 minutes left. But dude, the only thing that's coming through my head right now, and I don't know if you've had it cross your mind, is this is going to be published tomorrow. Do you ever worry about, like, who's going to watch this? Are we going to become a target, you and I?
I am not personally worried about that for many different reasons. One, we're not the only people talking about this.
I know, and I think that's why we've got to do it. But
there are many people. The people waking up every day to this reality is growing exponentially. And so we're not the only people talking about it. I'm not afraid to put my face on anything I talk about, because I fully, within every fiber of my being, believe that I'm presenting to you, to the fullest of my ability, the greatest expression of truth as I understand it. And I am willing to die for that.
Yes, me too. I think that's one of the reasons I'm here on this planet, is to share truth and love and if this is true, then humanity needs to know.
Yes, very much so. Very
All
much
right,
so.
keep going. We got 15 minutes left. Give us the rest.
Okay, well, I'm only about 20% through of what I had planned to show you.
Oh, geez. You know what? Let me look at the time. Let's extend. Fuck the hour long. Let's go on.
You can even in post-production chop this up into part 1, part 2, part 3, however you see fit.
Let's continue on. If people are still watching, let's let them watch. Continue on, because I'm learning. It's weird because I'm traumatized at the same time. I'm enjoying it. So keep going. All right.
Okay. All right. So let's talk about, how do we want to go about talking about this? Okay, I'm gonna save that topic for later. That's a big one. Let's talk about some more proofs here before I get into some of the more dark stuff, because the rest of the tabs on this particular page is dark. Let's bring a little bit of light. So let me stop sharing this particular screen, and let me share instead this screen. Let me know when you can see it.
I got it.
Okay. So because
Can you zoom in a little bit? I can't read all the text on that one.
Sure.
There you go.
Okay. So let me explain to you how Q actually puts out these posts, okay? Because that's all Q are these posts. And you can see when I say post, that's what these gray boxes surrounded by red are over here on the right-hand side. These are actual Q posts. And the things I've been reading from are Q posts.
Is it true that nobody really knows who he or she, QAnon, or they is?
No, I fully believe we know who they are. Let me see. I don't have it up on here, do I? Do I?
It's okay, you don't have to prove it. I'm just curious, like, because this is a weird, like QAnon is obviously a non for a reason.
Right. And so that's what I want to talk about right now. So let me get in, because this is also important. Q has stressed over and over and over again that there will be no outside comms communications with anybody outside of posting on these boards. Okay. So when Q first came on the scene, Q started posting on 4chan. Eventually got moved over to 8chan.
I remember that.
And then once that went away, and now it's 8kun. Now, for those who aren't familiar with the chans, I'll give you a very, very brief explanation of what the chans are. Basically, they're the last bastions of free speech on the internet. And I don't say that with any kind of joking whatsoever. The big tech companies, Facebook, Google, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, just keep naming them, are all implementing and have been implementing censorship algorithms to filter out virtually anybody talking about topics they don't want talked about. Google has a blacklist to where if you actually type in certain keywords that you're trying to do search for, such as I don't know, Sandy Hook and just any other conspiracy theory you can possibly think of, that they actually have a blacklist that the way they will not show you the information. They just won't come back in the search results. So Q needed a way, the Q operation needed a way to get their information out to the public. And the way that they were able to do that was through using 4chan and then 8chan. So these posts all come through as anonymous. That's the point of the Chan community. It's basically a bulletin board, an image bulletin board where you can post pictures and images and text, talk about various discussions. There's a lot more to it, but the gist of what you need to know is when you post to these chans, you come across as anonymous. That's the whole point of it. Well, if you're going to be talking about topics that require more than one post to help people follow along who you are, who even though they don't know who you are, they know you're anonymous, but to follow along with your posts, there are these trip codes. And if you look in this picture, the top picture here, it says Q, and then you'll see an exclamation point UW.YYEE1FXO. That is the trip code. That's basically the unique hash for this particular person when they log into the Chan via this device. This is the hash that they're given to identify who they are when they post whatever they're posting. So Q is using this method and only this method to put out these drops. So I stress that because anybody you see who purports to have talked with Q, who are a part of the Q team themselves, who basically are claiming inside information that is not posted in any of the actual Q posts, they are liars. Q has stressed this over and over and over again. So the best way,
a little bit, because it says underneath there, QAnon's intel drops are approved by President Trump.
Yes. And this is, I'm gonna get to that. I just wanted to set the stage for what the Q drops are. So now that you have a background, okay, Q is dropping on an anonymous image board. How do we know the Q operation is legit? One question. Number two question is, how do we know that the Q operation hasn't become compromised itself and taken over by the Black Hats? Okay, those are the two things that Q has always posted things to keep operational security. And what this site I'm directing you to right here, this qproofs.com, is exactly that. It's exactly what it sounds like. Proofs that Q, excuse me, I had to burp. Proofs that Q will work into his post and then later will be confirmed by some other event, most often confirmed by a President Trump tweet. So for instance,
no shit.
So I won't get into all of them. I've got a couple of them I can show you, but there are literally hundreds of them. And the reason there are so many of them is because Q has let us know we have to provide a way to let the people know who have been following Q from the beginning that A, it's still legit, and B, they haven't been compromised, and two, for all the new people coming in for the first time seeing Q for the very first time, and you know, first time being exposed to it, for those people to see, wait a minute, there's a proof here that is basically mathematically impossible to be random. So this whole website, qproofs.com, I just want to bring this to people's attention, and I'm not going to go through this because it's tons of stuff, but it's all outlining and detailing proofs over the 2 years since Q has been operational. And let me show you a couple of these.
Yeah.
So this is really cool. This is actually prior to Q coming online, but it'll give you a sense of the scope of this. So this is what this image here is, a capture of it was 4chan at the time, I believe. This is what it looks like if you were to go to 4chan, log into one of the discussion forums. This is what it would look like. Over here, what this proof is showing you is over here on the left. It's got the Pepe the Frog Twitter link with his meme, Trump train meme. Basically, this is prior to the election. Okay, I'm just setting the stage prior to the election. And what this is showing you is Trump retweeted the Patriotic Pepe, that account I just showed you, and basically retweeted it with a Trump train meme, which was not the exact same meme that Pepe the Frog, the original Pepe, posted, but in the same spirit, train Trump meme, and he linked it by basically tagging Patriotic Pepe. Okay, follow me here. So, an anonymous person posted this meme. Donald Trump, then prior to the election, Donald Trump essentially retweets this meme, giving credence to it. That's when you retweet something, you're giving credence to it. You're basically saying that, yes, this resonates with me and I'm sharing it, right?
Yep.
So then below that it says, one guy, the guy making this post says, "Oh shit, it's happening, bros. I repeat, it's happening." And it gives him a link to the Twitter tweet. You see more people following up. It's 3 a.m. What the fuck's he doing up? Blah, 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 keeping it real. And there's all these other posts coming down. And this is the post I want to highlight here. It says, "I tweeted this to show I listen. This is the only post I will make." And says, there's a commentary says, "He walks among us." So again, this is anonymous, right? So we don't know. This could be somebody trolling. So it comes down here, come down a little bit further, and it says, an anonymous replies, "Mr. Trump, if you actually do lurk here and you like this meme, please use the word amazing somehow in your next tweet. This will be a wink and a nod on the down low that you appreciate all of us here. Thank you." His very next tweet, "Colorado was amazing yesterday." Okay, so this is when I talk about Q proofs. This is what I mean. This is how the proofs work.
So you think that Trump is either controlled by the Q organization or part of it? Basically, is what I'm getting from this.
He is a part of it. He is not the mastermind of it. He is not in some ways, he's the implementer of it, but he is not the mastermind of it. He did not create this grand plan. In fact, this grand plan to defeat and overthrow the darkness, especially in this country, will surprise you, goes back to 1950. Okay, John F. Kennedy. Everything that we're talking about with Trump and what Trump is trying to do to expose all this, John F. Kennedy was trying to do himself. The difference is they killed John F. Kennedy.
Well, and they're trying to kill Trump too.
They are trying to kill Trump too.
All right, keep going.
Okay, so I wanted to give you that.
Nice, but dude,
here's another proof. Okay, it says presidents typically receive jerseys with a number of their presidency, and it shows Clinton receiving the jersey 42, Bush receiving 43, Obama receiving 44. Every time Trump has received a jersey, it's always been the number 17. And what is the 17th letter of the alphabet? It's Q. And it says at the bottom, how many coincidences before it becomes mathematically impossible? Okay, just another Q proof. Here's one of my favorites, okay? And this is how
Bring it. I'm excited. This is fascinating.
This is also how Trump trolls the mainstream media, the fake news, okay? And this is a Q post from back, when was this? December of last year. Over a year ago now. It says, the art of trolling the fake news. So first, Donald Trump sends out a tweet. Let's look at that tweet real quick. Okay, let me zoom in and make sure you can see that. Okay, it's a simple tweet. It says, his father and wife-in-law, who has the money, off scot-free. Okay, he lied about for his income, blah, 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 blah. The tweet itself is not important. The point I wanted to highlight here is the scot-free part. Okay. And there's this big, huge media blitz. So that was the initial step one. Send out this tweet with an intentional misspelling. Step two, mainstream media goes nuts. And this is just an example. Come on, there it goes. This is from People. And this is just a singular example. There are many others.
Okay.
So the mainstream media goes nuts, and they always go nuts anytime Trump has a misspelling. They're like, oh, this dumbass. Like, literally, this is the way they present their thing. Like, this dumbass can't even use Twitter. He can't spell right. He needs to go from office. This is always what they say. And again, they're saying comical error, blah, 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 blah. So that was step two. So step one, do something on purpose to inflame the fake news. Step two, fake news takes the bait and uses all these resources to come up with this narrative for bashing Trump because of this tweet. And then step three, it says, who is Scot-Free? So let's go over here and look at Scot-Free real quick. Turns out Scot-Free is a productions company. It's a movie productions company.
Zoom in real quick. You're shitting me.
So it's a movie company. Now, why is this important?
Yeah, why?
They were the producers of a movie called White Squall back in 1996. So let's click on that. Directed by Ridley Scott, starring Jeff Bridges. This movie was about, the whole plot of this movie was about a bunch of troubled boys who were taking aboard a ship, like a sailing vessel by a captain, and basically is out to sea and overcoming the rigors of sea and sailing and whatnot, builds the character of these men, and there's a disaster that happens, so on and so forth. That's the general premise of the movie itself. What's important and why this is so important is the catchphrase from this movie. Where we go one, we go all. Is the catchphrase from this movie.
Wow, dude. Wow.
And if you look down here, Trump, Q even tells us, who is Scot-Free? Step three, and it says he directs us to the movie White Squall. WWG1, WGA, from the movie. Where we go one, we go all. Thank you for playing. Q. So again,
is it possible that Trump is Q?
No, Trump is Q plus.
What does that mean?
You can see right here. I've got it highlighted right here. If you can see my highlight. You'll notice at the bottom of every Q post, Q always signs it Q. You see that?
Yeah.
Okay, well, every once in a while, it's not very often, but every once in a while, we've had a Q post that is actually signed Q plus. Not Q, but Q plus. And it's been determined that Q plus is President Trump. So whenever Q posts,
dude, do you think he's really that smart?
Dude, let me tell you. Okay,
this is fucking brilliant.
Let me. I'm so glad you asked that.
That is fucking brilliant, dude. Seriously,
this whole thing is amazing. It only gets more amazing. I want you to stick around. It only gets more amazing. But I do want to say something.
All right.
I do want to say something about Trump, though, and this is for everybody listening. Okay, we have been inundated by demonizing this man by the mainstream media.
True.
Inundated. Okay, so
yeah.
let me ask each of you this very honest question: how many times have you personally met the man Donald Trump? Zero. How many times so if you've never met Donald Trump, how many you have then never had a personal conversation with the man? So the only thing that you know about this man has been presented to you through the media, which I've already demonstrated is corrupt and basically the enemy of the people. The only thing you know about this man has been presented to you through that filter, that lens of negativity. Okay? I believe most, if not all of it, is 100% bullshit. I believe Trump is an incredibly smart man, borderline genius, if not genius. I've actually seen other people who are familiar with Trump and actually working with Trump actually call him a genius. I will just say possibly a genius. Is he egotistical? Maybe. There's a lot of egotistical people in this world. It doesn't make him evil.
Yeah, I can't agree with that. Yeah.
So what I'm asking people to do is to take a second, suspend belief, and take an honest look at why you feel such hatred and such negativity towards somebody who you've never actually met. It is engineered into you. It is programmed into you. It's been programmed into all of us. Okay, so that's why I say people might start to like, okay, this Q thing might be something, but where they may get tripped up is the fact that the leader of basically the head leader of this is the president, is Trump, because the military works for the president. So anyway, so let's continue.
I've thought about this. I've thought about this quite a bit, and one of the things that I've said a couple of times is, you know what? The dude's an egotistical narcissist, I'm pretty sure. But he's either a fucking idiot for posting what he does on Twitter, or he's a fucking genius.
And it's all for a reason.
Because if he's a genius, then he's actually orchestrating this dance. Mm-hmm. So anyway, keep going, man. It's fascinating. All right.
Okay, so here's another...
I kind of hope he's a genius, by the way.
My belief is that he is.
All right.
Knowing the information that I know, I believe he is.
All right, well, keep going. Let's keep going. Premise.
I want to keep giving a couple more proofs.
Not saying I'm going to buy into it yet, but
no, that's fine. Keep suspending belief. We're not done yet.
Be badass if you're right.
So another proof, in this particular picture here inside the black box here with the watch and the pin. This is from an earlier Q proof. A Q post. I would have to go back and find it to show it to you, but take my word for it that this is from an earlier Q post, and it was simply a picture of the pin and the watch. And the pin is the Mont Blanc pin of the president. The watch is the IWC presidential watch. Now look at the time on the watch. The time is 1:29.
Can't see it.
Oh, I'm sorry.
All right. You got a much bigger monitor than we do. Okay.
Can you see it now?
A little.
It didn't look like it increased any. Hang on a second. Let me zoom in on this picture now. There we go.
That's much better. Okay, now I can see.
Okay, so just quickly reset. This picture here was from a prior Q post prior to the IG report's release by several days. It's the Mont Blanc pin of the president and the IWC watch of the president. If you look at the watch itself, look at the time. The time is set to 1:29. Okay, that's all the post was. Now, when the IG report came out on Monday, if you look at this is the IG, the official OIG Twitter account, and their press release for saying that the report is released was released at this is Pacific time. This particular screenshot is of a Twitter user from Pacific time, so it shows 10:29, but modified for Eastern Standard Time, it shows 1:29 Eastern Standard Time, which is the time that Q operates on. It's exactly the time.
Right? Is the presidential watch?
Yep. And that's that pin is a Mont Blanc pin. It's a particular model that presidents use for signing like executive orders and things of this nature.
So wait a minute. So
what I'm telling you, okay, let me frame it for you. Let me spell it out for you. What this proof is showing you, unequivocally, is showing you somebody with access to the presidential pin and watch and subsequently desk that these things are sitting on, has foresight knowledge of when the Inspector General report is supposed to be released, sets the time on that particular watch to that exact time the IG report is going to be released, to be later be proven correct as another Q proof.
Catch me up. So what is the impact of that?
Again, the Q proofs are the Q group's way of communicating to the people following Q that, one, they are legit, and two, they are not compromised. They have not been infiltrated and taken over by other forces. So they're constantly giving us proofs, constantly, over and over and over again, as a mechanism, because remember, they're posting on a place that is inherently anonymous.
So basically, it's like the Bible would say, for those who have eyes, let them see.
For those with the eyes to see, yes, exactly. All of these winking and nods, this Trump 17.
Show me more. Okay, I got the Q, got the time, yeah.
Well, those are only the few. Those are the ones I had pulled up just to kind of show Q proofs. But again, if you want more, spend time, go to qproofs.com, go dig through these. They've got it broken down by topic. They got Twitter proofs, White House proofs, military proofs, the Q clock. The Q clock is amazing. It would take forever to explain this, but basically it's a clock, and each minute on the clock represents a day. And you can see, if you can kind of see up here, that each day is a date. And basically it lines up with deltas and whatnot. It would take me forever to truly explain this to you. Look at it for yourself. But again, look at all these different categories. Let's see, events. Let's see. I mean, there's
In your view, let me just summarize this. We're going to wrap this podcast up because you've given, I mean, my brain is full right now, but if I'm going to summarize this for the masses who are not aficionados on Q, who've possibly never heard of it, like me, prior to you introducing it to me a week ago. What you're basically saying is this. At a fundamental level, there's a war going on. There's a war between the people that want to control the planet, the population, the money, and the people that want to let humanity live free. At a fundamental level, we're talking about a global spiritual conflict between those who want control, domination, and those who believe that God put us here to live free. I'm going to pause there and say, am I right? Yes or no?
That's very well summarized, yes.
Okay. And what you're saying basically is that by virtue of the new media that we have, being the internet, those who have eyes, whose eyes are open, can not only see, but discover consistently new proofs that there is a line of freedom warriors heading towards eliminating those who believe in domination, elimination, genocide, and controlling the population and money. And those warriors are led by an anonymous group named Q. And that one of those is Trump himself. Is that what you're saying?
That is exactly what I'm saying.
That's pretty fucking cool, man. I mean, I don't know if you're right, but shit, dude, that's heavy. And you know what? Just in case you're right, I'm probably going to vote for Trump. Matter of fact, I'll probably put a Trump sign in my yard, honestly. Like, because the alternative is so freaking evil, man.
It is.
It is evil. And
I didn't even get into that piece of it. Like, there's so many, like the entire thing we've talked about up until this point is just me trying to show you who Q is and to try to show you the legitimacy of it. I haven't gotten into anything of like real substance, of like real, like things that would really blow your mind, things that would really wake you up to the greater truth and all of this. So I mean,
do this again next week.
Yeah, we can. I've got to keep all these tabs open and whatnot, which is kind of a pain.
It's Christmas is coming up, but we got to get this out because here's the thing: the IG report was phenomenally. It shocked me as to how damning it was towards what I view as a basic, I wouldn't call it the Democratic Party. I would call it an evil agenda. Okay. And the IG report comes out and I'm like, okay, this is crazy. And I kept watching the Democrats not only during the hearing, but also in the media, spinning it with lies. And I was like, whoa, I watched that live. And I'm like, this is a battle, man. This is a battle. So you and I need to keep on it, but we need to get this live. So we're going to wrap up, but let's get this live, and then let's you and I meet again. All right?
Okay, sounds good.
All right, my brother. You have a great Christmas.
You too, sir. Take it easy.
All right. Later, bro.
Bye.
Bye.